The throne they built to see you stumble will one day become their own seat of defeat. That's the law of cosmic balance. Every trap laid, every whisper of doubt, every stone hurled in your direction doesn't vanish into thin air. It circles back, teaching its sender the cruelest lesson. Fate always collects its debt. Chosen one, understand this. While they plotted to bury you under their venom, they only fertilized the ground you were destined to rise from. Their curses became the very winds that lifted you higher. That's why their obsession haunts them even now, because no matter how hard they tried to write your ending, the universe rewrote it into your beginning. Imagine it. They sharpened their knives of envy, but in the end, they cut nothing but their own hands. They tried to scatter thorns in your path, yet you walked across them barefoot until those same thorns turned into roses. That's the irony they choke on, that their hate became your crown, their laughter became your fuel, and their silence only amplified your roar. Chosen one, the universe aligned itself with your growth, turning every attempt at sabotage into precision training for the heights you were meant to reach. And before we go deeper, press the like button and subscribe, because your energy doesn't just keep this message alive, it multiplies it, spreading light into the cracks where others are still stumbling in the dark. Chosen one, know this: your very existence is their torment. Your rise is the ghost that follows them, the proof that their failure was not in trying to destroy you, but in realizing too late that you were never destroyable. Chosen ones, listen closely. What you're about to hear isn't just another message, it's a revelation tailored for you. This is the moment where scattered pieces of your journey finally lock into place, where every scar, every silence, every betrayal is decoded. Before we uncover the truth that your enemies prayed you'd never discover, do 3 things right now. Press the like button, hit subscribe so this light reaches more chosen ones like you, and drop the number 111 in the comments to seal your alignment with this message. That small act doesn't just support this mission, it tells the universe you're ready to receive what's been hidden. Stay with me until the very end, because if you truly are chosen, each word will feel carved directly into your story. You passed, and now it's time to tell you everything. Number 1. Don't collapse at the breaking point, rise stronger than the storm. Chosen one, pause for a second and realize what it even means that you are here, listening to this. Survival isn't random, it's a declaration. You didn't just make it through another storm, you've stepped into a message written with your name carved into it. That alone is proof you're not ordinary. Before we dive deeper, return the energy. Press the like button, subscribe, and drop 222 in the comments. Why? Because this mission is about multiplying light, making sure no one suffering in silence thinks they're walking alone. You're not just a viewer, you're part of a force the universe already recognizes, and your presence here is alignment, not coincidence. Now let's uncover the truth that's been waiting to reach you. Chosen ones, you passed. And when I say that, understand it's not a casual statement, it's a verdict. It's not just a headline, it's confirmation. The most brutal part of your journey wasn't even the pain itself, it was the confusion. You didn't know you were sitting inside a test. You thought betrayal was just cruelty. You thought isolation was rejection. You thought loss was punishment. But none of that was the truth. The reality, life wasn't punishing you, it was proving you. Every sleepless night was a hidden lecture. Every heartbreak was an exam slipped under the desk without warning. Every moment you thought was designed to bury you was actually sharpening you for battles most people would never survive. Others crumbled under smaller weights, while you carried storms that would have crushed entire crowds. That's the evidence you've been chosen, not because life was easy, but because you were strong enough to withstand what would have destroyed anyone else. Think of it like this. when a sword is forged, it doesn't become sharp by accident. It's beaten, bent, and drowned in fire. Every strike against it feels like destruction, but in reality, it's precision. That was you. You weren't thrown into chaos, you were placed into a process. And while your enemies whispered that you were finished, all they did was speak too soon. They thought they saw brokenness, but what they were really watching was refinement. Your enemies never understood the hidden irony. They thought their stones would bury you, but those stones became the bricks of your foundation. They thought silence meant you were finished, but silence was only proof that patience was shaping you. They thought stripping you down would erase your worth, but it only revealed that your worth was never built on them in the first place. It was built inside you all along. Chosen one, here's the twist that eats them alive. Every attempt to break you was secretly training you to become untouchable. Every betrayal was teaching you discernment. Every loss was creating space for multiplication. What looked like defeat was just calibration. And while they counted your scars, the universe was counting your resilience. That's why you passed. Not because it was easy, not because it was fair, but because you endured what was designed to prove you, not punish you. And now, your survival itself is the crown they can never take away. Number 2. Guard your innocence, because purity beats every trap. Chosen one, listen carefully. Your innocence has always been the battlefield. They never wanted just to see you stumble, they wanted to infect you. That's the cruel truth of envy. It doesn't just aim to wound your body, it aims to rot your spirit. They studied your kindness and saw it as weakness. They mistook your soft heart for a fragile one. And so they plotted not to steal your possessions, not to erase your name, but to poison the rare purity inside you. Because they knew once that innocence was gone, they wouldn't need to destroy anything else. You'd destroy yourself. But here's the part they'll never digest. You refused. While they threw betrayal like daggers, you bled but didn't lose yourself. While they whispered lies to harden your heart, you chose to remain open. And while they laughed at your softness, that softness became the shield they could never pierce. That's the irony. Purity isn't weakness. It's a weapon sharper than their envy, stronger than their hate. Anyone can turn bitter. Anyone can grow cold. That path costs nothing. But to walk through fire and still carry compassion, that's power they can't imitate. Think of it this way. A diamond doesn't lose its brilliance by being struck. It shines harder. That's you. They tried to smear your light, but the more they pressed, the brighter you glowed. And now every scar you carry isn't proof of corruption, it's proof of survival without contamination. Chosen one, that's what makes them furious. You didn't just win battles, they lost the war they thought they could win easily. So guard your innocence. Protect it like the rarest treasure, because it's the one thing they can't steal, the one thing they can't fake, and the one thing that makes every trap they set collapse under its own weight. You passed. Number 3. When silence feels like abandonment, turn it into power. Chosen one, silence was their deadliest weapon. They thought if no one answered your cries, if no hand reached back, you would crumble under the weight of abandonment. They wanted the quiet to feel like a coffin. They wanted you to believe that being ignored was proof you were forgotten. But here's where the balance shifted. What they thought was punishment became the sharpest tool of your transformation. The silence didn't bury you, it built you. Think of it like this. A seed buried in soil hears nothing, sees nothing. To the seed, it feels like death. But in that darkness, roots are forming. That silence is not absence, it is preparation. The same happened to you. While you were asking, why isn't anyone helping me? The universe was whispering, because I am training you to help yourself. That's why silence became your weapon instead of your weakness. Enemies smirked when your prayers seemed unanswered. They celebrated when your questions echoed back empty. But the irony is this: they only strengthened your voice. Silence forced you to sharpen your inner hearing, to walk without validation, to rise without applause. And that is what makes you untouchable now. Anyone can keep moving when they're constantly encouraged. But chosen ones keep moving when nothing speaks. That's the difference. Psychologists say resilience isn't built in comfort, it's forged when external guidance disappears. Silence forced you into mastery. While they thought you were suffocating, you were actually learning to breathe underwater. While they thought you were abandoned, you were discovering your own alignment. Chosen one, never forget, silence wasn't your enemy, it was your proof. It turned what was meant to break you into a roar that still echoes. You passed, not in noise, but in power. Number 4. Stop thinking. It's random. Realize you're being studied and outwit the attack. Chosen one, listen carefully. Nothing that came against you was random. Every betrayal, every storm that arrived right when you were weakest, every pattern that repeated itself, those weren't accidents. You were being studied. Forces, people, and even unseen enemies were watching you like a scientist watches an experiment. Every time you reacted, every time you broke down, every time you stood tall, they took notes. They wanted to find your cracks. They wanted to map out your triggers. They wanted to weaponize your own humanity against you. Picture it like this: a mouse in a maze, every hesitation analyzed, every wrong turn recorded. That's how precise their attacks were. You weren't just under fire, you were under a microscope. That's why the blows landed so sharply, why betrayals felt surgical. They didn't just want to hurt you once, they wanted to engineer your collapse. They wanted to study your weaknesses until they could finally break you beyond repair. But here's the irony, chosen one. What they failed to calculate is that every time you survived, you ruined their research. Every time you stood back up, their data became useless. They thought they had your formula, but you became unpredictable. They studied your wounds, but never accounted for your essence. They miscalculated the one thing they could never measure, your spirit. And that's why you terrify them now, because they realized their strategy backfired. Instead of breaking you, their precision sharpened you. Instead of exposing weakness, it revealed a resilience that can't be charted. They studied you to destroy you, but the only thing they exposed was themselves. Number 5. Don't fear breaking, use it as the birthplace of your rebirth. Chosen one, let's face it, breaking hurts. It feels like the end of everything, like your strength finally ran out and the world has collapsed on top of you. But here's the hidden truth. What looks like breaking is often the birthplace of your rebirth. They thought your collapse was your coffin, the final proof you couldn't withstand the pressure. But the irony is this: your breaking point was never your burial ground. It was your launch pad. Imagine a seed. To the outside world, it looks destroyed when it cracks open in the dirt. But that destruction is the very moment life pushes forward. That was you. When you shattered, it wasn't death, it was initiation. The old layers of you split apart so the real version of you could finally emerge. That's why the chosen often experience deeper collapse than others, because they're not just surviving, they're transforming. And here's the twist your enemies choke on. They laughed at your tears, celebrated your silence, mocked your unraveling. They thought they'd won. But what they mistook as your ending was actually your ignition. Just like diamonds are forged under pressure strong enough to crush anything else, you were pressed into something priceless. Your scars don't say broken, they say reborn. Chosen one, never fear the breaking, fear staying the same, because what they call collapse, the universe calls creation. Every crack was designed to let your real light out. Every fall was just proof you had the courage to rise again, and that's what terrifies them, that your worst day became the day you were remade stronger, sharper, and untouchable. You didn't just break, you were reborn, and that's why you passed. Number 6. Don't confuse temporary losses with defeat. The war is already yours. Chosen one, lean closer, because this truth will silence every doubt. Temporary losses are not your defeat. Read that again. They laughed when you stumbled, they clapped when you lost opportunities, and they cheered when people walked away. To the crowd, it looked like you were finished. To your enemies, it felt like triumph. But here's what they'll never admit. They mistook stolen rounds for victory in a war that was never theirs to win. Imagine a fighter who lets his opponent swing wildly, taking hit after hit. The crowd roars, convinced the match is over. But the fighter isn't collapsing. He's calculating. He's conserving energy, waiting for the moment to strike. That was you. Those losses weren't proof of weakness. They were strategy shaping you for an endurance no enemy could match. They celebrated too early, not realizing that the scoreboard means nothing when the war is already yours by design. Here's the irony that burns them. They could take your comfort, but they couldn't touch your resilience. They could drag your name, but they couldn't rewrite your truth. They could snatch moments, but they couldn't touch your destiny. Their victories had ceilings, while your survival had no limit. Every time you rose again after they counted you out, you ruined their celebration. Every step you took without the things they stripped away exposed how powerless they really were. Chosen one, understand this. The universe never measured you by rounds. It measured you by endurance. That's why you passed. Not because you won every small battle, but because you proved unbreakable in the war that mattered. Let them gloat over temporary spoils. Their wins are illusions. Your rise is permanent, and that truth will haunt them longer than any trophy they tried to wave in your face. Number 7. Wear your scars as proof, not stains of defeat. Chosen one, your scars are not proof of weakness. They are living signatures of your survival. Too many look at their wounds and believe they are ruined. But you need to understand something vital. Scars are not stains. Stains mean contamination. Scars mean you healed. They tried to carve their cruelty into your soul, hoping it would rot you from the inside. They wanted you to look in the mirror and only see their damage staring back. But here you are, not carrying stains of defeat, only marks that scream, I endured and I rose. Imagine this. 2 white garments pass through fire. One soaks up the soot and is forever discolored, while the other emerges singed but still shining. That's you. Your scars are the burn marks, yes, but they are also your receipt of survival. They tell the story that you were struck but never destroyed. They whisper, I was broken here, but I did not stay broken. And that terrifies your enemies, because every time you show your scars, you remind the world of their failure. They couldn't stain you. They couldn't change your essence. They couldn't turn your light into their darkness. Chosen one, scars elevate you. They are not ugly. They are sacred. They are evidence that pain tried to rewrite you and failed. They are proof that what touched others and left them bitter only made you stronger, clearer, and more unshakable. Your scars are your armor. Every line etched into you makes you more authentic, more credible, more untouchable. Never hide them, never shame them, because the truth is this: scars mean you lived, you fought, and you overcame. And that's the nightmare of your enemies, that what was meant to erase you has become the crown you now wear. You passed. Number 8. Recognize their trap, then let it become their own destruction. Chosen one, let's speak the truth they wish would stay buried. The traps they built for you were never yours to fall into. They were blueprints of their own downfall. Every scheme, every carefully designed betrayal, every net they thought would capture you became the very evidence of their corruption. They thought they were the hunters, but fate was already setting them up as prey. That's the law of cosmic balance. The poison they prepared for you was destined to end up in their own cup. Picture this. A hunter digs a pit, covers it with branches, and waits with smug confidence. But the ground shifts, the cover snaps, and it's the hunter himself who crashes into the darkness he created. That's exactly what your enemies experienced. They plotted with precision, studied your every move, and timed their attacks like scientists dissecting an experiment. They thought they were in control, that your fall was guaranteed. But instead of exposing your weakness, they exposed their own rot. Instead of proving you unworthy, they signed their own judgment. And here's what shakes them to their core. You didn't just survive their traps. You walked away sharper, stronger, more untouchable. Every attempt they made to break you became training for the heights you were destined to reach. Their traps turned into stepping stones, and their betrayal became your proof. Chosen one, understand this. The test wasn't really about you. It was about them. While you endured, they revealed who they truly were. Liars, manipulators, cowards. The stage they set to humiliate you became the spotlight on their own character, and now the universe has made it clear. The trap they built wasn't your tomb, it was theirs. You passed, and their destruction was written by their own hands. Number 9. Refuse the comfort of cushions, get forged for real command. Chosen one, listen closely. Comfort was never meant to be your destination. The universe didn't design your path with cushions and soft landings, because leaders are not born in comfort, they are forged in fire. Those who settle for easy chairs never rise beyond mediocrity. But you, chosen one, were dragged through storms so brutal because you were being shaped for command. Every hardship, every closed door, every humiliation wasn't punishment, it was sculpting. Comfort makes people complacent, but pressure makes commanders. That's why your nights were darker, your betrayals sharper, and your losses heavier, because your destiny demanded a fire hotter than anyone else could endure. Think of iron in a forge. To the untrained eye, every strike looks destructive, every flame looks cruel. But to the blacksmith, every blow is purpose. That's exactly what life did to you. They laughed when you were bent. They mocked when you were struck. They pointed at your fire and assumed it would consume you. What they never realized is that those flames weren't meant to destroy you. They were meant to purify you. The universe didn't prepare you for ease. It prepared you for authority. And here's the truth your enemies will never swallow. Comfort could have kept you ordinary, but pressure made you extraordinary. They thought stripping you of safety would collapse you, but it only revealed that your strength was never built on cushions. It was built on scars. It was built in silence. It was built when no one clapped and no one believed. That's why your voice now carries weight. It's not borrowed power, it's earned through survival. Number 10. Don't despise isolation. See it as the secret training ground. Chosen one, isolation was never the punishment you thought it was. It wasn't proof that you were forgotten. It was proof that you were being shaped in silence. The empty rooms, the unanswered calls, the seasons where no one stood beside you, those weren't signs of abandonment. They were the universe's way of pulling you out of reach, away from the noise, into a hidden training ground where your real strength could be born. Most collapse in isolation. They panic when applause fades. They crave validation and wither when it doesn't come. But you, chosen one, were forced into a different arena. Alone, stripped of comfort, you had to discover that your power was never in the crowd. It was in you. That's the secret. Solitude was never your cage, it was your forge. Picture a diamond buried deep underground. For years it remains unseen, invisible to the world, but the pressure is sculpting it into something priceless. That was your story. While they walked past you, thinking you were irrelevant, the universe was perfecting you beneath the surface. And now that you rise, you carry a clarity and strength others can't fake. Isolation sharpened your vision. It taught you to hear whispers others miss. It built resilience that no applause could ever give. While others chase the spotlight, you carry depth that was born in the shadows. That's why you're dangerous now, because your power doesn't need noise to prove itself. Chosen one, understand this. Loneliness was never loss. It was alignment. You weren't buried, you were hidden, protected, and prepared. That's why when you step forward, you don't just walk with knowledge, you walk with secrets only the tested can carry. And that is why you passed. Number 11. Let them mock your quiet, because hidden power always lasts longer. Chosen one, let them laugh at your silence. Let them whisper that your calm is weakness. They have no idea what hides beneath. The shallow mistake noise for strength, but you were never built to put on a show. You carry a power so deep it doesn't need an audience. Your quiet was never emptiness. It was discipline. It was strategy. And now, that very stillness they mocked is the reason you lasted when their noise burned out. Think of a raging fire. It roars, it cracks, it grabs attention. But sooner or later, it consumes itself and dies. Compare that to stone, silent, steady, unmoving. Decades pass, storms strike, and the stone remains. That's you. They put on a performance for the crowd while you were cultivating roots no one could see. And when the storm finally came, their show crumbled. Your silence stood. They mistook your patience for surrender, your restraint for fragility. They couldn't comprehend that silence itself is a weapon. Every moment you chose not to strike back, you were gathering strength. Every insult you ignored, every betrayal you absorbed without reaction, it became fuel. And when the time comes, your quiet will echo louder than their entire chaos ever could. Here's the truth. Resilience doesn't scream, it endures. Real power doesn't beg to be seen, it proves itself by lasting. Chosen one, you became that paradox, breakable on the surface, but untouchable at the core. And that's why they fear you, because they realize too late. You don't need applause, you don't need validation, you don't need revenge. Your survival itself is the loudest roar. Number 12. When faith looks foolish, prove it's the weapon that never breaks. Chosen one, let's strip the illusion. Faith has always been the battlefield they never understood. To them, your trust looked foolish. They laughed when you believed without proof, smirked when you held on without evidence, and mocked you for refusing to surrender when every sign screamed collapse. They saw your persistence as weakness, but here's the twist. What looked like foolishness to them was the very weapon they could never break. Faith is dangerous because it makes you unpredictable. They couldn't calculate your next move because you weren't powered by applause, validation, or proof. You were powered by something invisible, something untouchable. That's why they stayed restless. Every time they thought silence would crush you, you stood taller. Every time they counted you out, you kept walking. You were defying logic, chosen one, and logic is the only language your enemies understand. That's why your survival is their torment. Picture this. A candle in a hurricane. The storm rages, winds howl, yet somehow the flame refuses to die. To outsiders, it looks fragile, one gust away from extinction. But no matter how long the storm lasts, the flame flickers on. That was your faith. Shaken, yes, but never snuffed out. That's why you're here today, crowned by survival, glowing with proof that what can't be measured can't be broken. Understand this. Ordinary people only believe when the conditions are favorable. They call it faith, but it's just convenience. You weren't given that luxury. You were tested in silence, in darkness, in moments when even you doubted yourself. And yet you held on. That's the rarest victory of all. Chosen one, faith was never your weakness. It was the weapon they could never disarm. And that's why you passed. And now, chosen one, we've reached the point where the pattern becomes clear. Every scar, every silence, every test was never proof of weakness, but confirmation of strength. You didn't just endure, you transcended. That's why their hate couldn't touch you, and why your rise is unstoppable. Remember, survival itself is the crown they can never take away. Before you go, return the energy. Hit the like button, subscribe, and drop 333 in the comments so the universe knows you've claimed this truth. Stay connected, because this is only the beginning, and your story is about to shake the world.